I'm not tournament sharp yet. No, I'm still not there. I mean, these are 20 of the best players in the world, and I'm not sharp enough to compete against them at this level.
Tiger Woods not playing this week. When will we see him back on the PGA Tour, though?
Spoiler alert, Scottie Scheffler, your betting favorite this week at the Hero Challenge. Can we bet him at these ultra low odds this week in the Bahamas?
And if we're not picking him, who are we picking here at the Hero World Challenge? We're going to let you know now on the Golfbet Roundtable.
Another week and another fun segment here. Chris Brees, Will Gray, and Ben Everill. Guys, let's just get right to it with Tiger Woods. He clearly does not feel like he's ready to play this week. You can't blame him for that kind of thing. But here's the question, Will. When are we going to see Tiger? Is it a majors-only schedule for him? And even at that, are we even going to see him in all of these majors now?
I mean, I think as Tiger approaches, Ben, check my math. Is he turning 49 later this month?
Yes.
Yes. His schedule is becoming, if anything, more predictable. I think you can pencil him in if he can stand up, he's going to play the Masters. If he can stand up and walk 72 holes, he's going to play the Genesis Invitational, which is a tournament that he's hosting at Riviera that has carved out a special sponsorship exemption specifically for the tournament host. So I think as we look into his schedule, he's not well enough now to play. He says he's not tournament ready this week in the Bahamas. Heading into 25, I think he hopes to play at Riviera. He hopes certainly to play at Augusta National. Anything in between, you think maybe Bay Hill could be a little added bonus. But Chris, to your second question, are we going to see him at every major? I don't know.
It's hard to say yes at this point.
Yeah.
Very hard to say yes. Look, he just had another back surgery. What's that,
Right.
5 microdiscectomies? He's got a back fusion. He's got obviously the rough leg there from all the history in his past. I think we just have to get to that point where if he plays, when he plays, we all just enjoy it. We all just get a nice boost in the kick. If you're talking in the betting realm, we stay away from it now, unless you're going to have some fun on birdies and around or things like that, which we can talk about when he does tee it up. I'm even not sure he can keep that cut streak going at Augusta now. I'm worried about that after another surgery. I hope we keep seeing him. I'd love to see him, once a month, which is what he wanted to do this year before health and issues got in the way. It's just, look, when we see him, make sure you enjoy it. Make sure you watch it. We're at that point now, I think. I hope I'm wrong. How awesome would it be if he, went a vintage 4 days somewhere? I just don't know if we'll see that again.
It's tough for us. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Chris. I was going to say, I think if you go back a couple of years to the Open at St. Andrews, it shows that with Tiger, venues are going to matter. I think we all expect him to play the Masters longer and more than the other majors, but the venues at these other two, specifically in the U.S., are going to matter. When the U.S. Open goes to Pebble Beach in, I believe, 2027, I think Tiger's going to play. Is he going to play this year or next year at Oakmont, which is a brutal course and where, you're going to shoot $1 million over par, even if you're Scottie Scheffler? Maybe not.
It's tough for his fans who want to see the glory days of Tiger Woods. I mean, you go back to this tournament a decade ago, Scottie Scheffler's in the Tiger Woods seat right now because, Ben, it was a decade ago almost where Tiger Woods was plus 225 to win the Hero World Challenge, albeit a different course. Now it's Scottie Scheffler at plus 225 to win a golf tournament. Are you kidding me?
Of course, look, we have to preface to everyone out there, this is a 20-person tournament, right? 20 guys, but they're 20 very good players. That's why you might see slightly shorter odds. But yeah, it was a decade ago that Tiger was Tiger-like odds for this event. And Scheffler's now there, 225 to win this thing. To be fair, defending champion. He was second on the other 2 occasions he played here. So I kind of understand it. I just don't think you can bet it if we're going to get into that discussion. You see down there, 225 to win. Top 5 minus 400, top 10 minus 1200.
That's ridiculous.
Look, can he win this? Can he win this? Probably will. But, he's been on fire. But at the same time, it's not a market for me to jump in. It's a wait and see how he goes. Of course, if he shoots 6 under the first round, he's going to be minus odds. But then you just hit other markets. I really think that if you think Scheffler's the man, you've got to go to the place markets this week. If you don't, there's also, I believe, a without Scheffler market we'll get out to later. But he's been dominant. I've had to apologise to him 300 times this year for saying he wasn't going to do this. I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon yet this year. At this point.
Will, could you plead insanity to take a top 5 at minus 400? Yes, 20 people, I know.
Don't do that.
Really?
No. No, Chris, don't do that. I'm more drawn to the minus 1,200 number to beat half the field. Yeah. It's just an amazing price. We try to put that into money lines with football or basketball. I just want to know what Ben's going to be waiting for. If he's in his wait and see approach, how high do you think the Scheffler odds are ever going to get in a 20-man field? He could be 10 shots back on Sunday, and you're still not going to hit what Matthew Pavon is before anyone's hit a golf shot. I mean, this is true. This is still Scheffler's world. I will note that Tiger in 2013, he didn't win, right? It didn't win at plus 225. He was still at that price. So it wouldn't totally shock me if Scheffler doesn't win. It's been a few weeks since he's played. Everyone's dealing with, not necessarily off-season rust, but certainly they're not as week in and week out with their routine as they are in April or May. I just think you got to take a stand. Either you're going to take the guy at plus 225, and that's your single bullet, and that's your play for this week, and you hope that he pops up and takes the trophy like he did last year, or you write him off and you look for value on the other 19 guys because it's going to be there on this board because there's so much of an emphasis on where Scottie Scheffler is anywhere on the golf course.
No, normally, he's at that 400, 450 for the bigger events, and I usually say, look, wait for him to get to 8 to 10 if you think you're looking for value.
He won't.
He's not going to get there. No, but you bring that down because of the small field, and you say wait for 4 or 5. Wait for 4 or 5 to 1, but that's assuming I'm making a big assumption that someone goes low, and that someone would have to be, one of the other big names in the morning. Like he'd have to be 4 or 5 or 6 behind a Justin Thomas or someone that's got some form at the venue, before you're going to see those odds. So yeah, you're right, Will, in the case that you're either on him or you're not. But if anyone can come back on a final round from 5 or 6 back. I know I spent the better half of the start of this year saying he wasn't a guy that came back from big scores, but he's proven that he can do it now. So maybe that's where you have some fun with him if he ends up in that spot, but he probably won't.
Listen, it was only a couple years ago at this event that – sorry, Chris, I keep stepping on you here. But it was only a couple years ago at this event that Colin Morikawa had like a 4-shot lead going into Sunday. It was a big moment. If he wins this tournament, he's going to go to number 1 in the world. He didn't win. He blew the tournament. It has not yet to date gotten to world number 1. So, that's a situation where there was another top caliber player, a major champion who was poised to take this big. It was meaningful for Colin Morikawa, and he was in position. I remember that skewed the odds. He was probably minus 400 or so heading into Sunday. So maybe that's a situation where if there's a runaway and you're trying to figure out, kind of like what we saw at TPC Sawgrass this year, who could chase down a Xander or a Wyndham Clark, Scottie's going to be high on that list. But it's hard to envision this scenario where the odds drift dramatically, but Scottie's still in a position where you would want to back him mid-tournament.
If you do want to stay sane, here's a market for you guys. The winners without Scottie Scheffler in the field, okay? And you'll notice the numbers really aren't that much different for most of these guys. I think Thomas went from, 900 to 650. Ludwig and Cantlay went down maybe about 100 points as well. Is this something you would look at, Ben, to tell people, hey, some of these look just as good as they did with Scheffler?
My take on this is if you're looking at one of those sort of top 3 players on that board, yes, you could look at this market and protect yourself. But if you're looking further down the board, if you're looking at an upset anyway, then you might as well get the juice, right? Like if I'll use my Aussie mate Jason Day there. I know he's about 25 to 1 in the regular market. I mean, you might as well take the 25 if you're going to go for Jason Day. But if you're liking Justin Thomas, the 650 might be more appealing than the 900 to get rid of Scheffler and just take that out of play. You also got to remember too, when you take Scheffler out of this, it's not like he disappears from the field. He's still there. So the complexity is if he is actually winning,
right,
and you're now playing for second place, you need a player that's going to care about finishing second place, right? That's going to keep firing at pins or keep trying to be second. Some guys don't care as much about second. They feel like, well, that's just first loser, the whole Ricky Bobby scenario there. So they're not necessarily chasing that second place if they're 4 behind Scheffler on Sunday or with 3 to play, right? Whereas a Russell Henley, Tom, the younger guys, Thigala, etc., they may be more inclined to go all the way to the finish to get that second spot on the leaderboard.
I think you toss it. I think that there's something to be said for the math is in your favor, right? Discounting Scottie Scheffler in a 20-man field is much more impactful than doing it in a 72-man field or 144-man field. We've seen these without Scheffler markets pop up throughout 2024 as he continues to just scoop these trophies. But I think you can look at this. It's such a one-off event. It's at this part of the season where some guys still have their eye on the ball and some guys are doing some Christmas shopping with their wife down in the Bahamas. I think at some point you just take a stand and you say, listen, I'm going to go in and I'm going to back someone and hope that they beat Scottie Scheffler. There's absolutely a chance that if Scottie Scheffler plays to 75, 80% of his capacity, he's probably going to win this golf tournament. But you hope that maybe he has an off week or even just an off round, because this is still a top tier field, that might be enough to create a gap. And there's a lot of guys on here that have gotten drummed by Scottie Scheffler throughout this year. They probably want to get one in on him before they head home for the holidays. So yes, there's some value. I think specifically, as Ben alluded to, those first three names are the three that I would target if I was looking in the without Scheffler market. So it's JT, it's Ludwig, it's Patrick Cantlay. Anyone after that, I think I'd rather just take my chances and hope that they beat Scheffler. But even for those other three, at some point you got to beat the man if you want to be the man.
I just want to jump in here because Will made a really good point in passing there that you need to keep in mind this week. You need to try to figure it out. It's not easy. We have data for everything. Oh, they played well at this course, they did this. One of the big factors here is where they are in the time of year. This is the Bahamas. Who's brought the family? Who has the kids? Who doesn't have the kids? Who's going to the Baha Mar Casino at night? Who's going to the pool in the afternoon? Like, it is a hard thing, but there are definitely some factors there where sometimes the debutantes or the young guys or whatever can be almost a step up from what you're expecting because they're not there with the distraction, if you will, of finishing their round, finishing their practice and having to go figure out their dinner reservation, go make sure they keep everyone happy and at the water park or whatever it is. So it's a hard thing to keep a track of, but if you can find out some information on who's got who there, it can be very impactful.
It's almost like Ben said that on purpose because, Benny B, you got to explain yourself on your winner here because some guys are on vacation. Some guys just had a kid 2 weeks ago. Are you doing a 180 here?
No, look, he's getting out. He's got to get out. He's, new father, Justin Thomas, he's got to win while he can before it gets too difficult. You guys know that I've always said I'm a little worried when there's a new dad on the market. I think that sometimes it can be a regression. But in saying it, there's always that early bump. The baby bump happens first when you hear that, oh, I've got a new perspective. It's so great to win with this new perspective on life. I'm doing it for someone else, all that sort of stuff. Well, this is Justin Thomas's moment. He's over there. He's not with the crying baby, the newborn, the nappies, or sorry, the diapers, as you call them. He doesn't have to worry about that this week. He just gets to go out and have one last hurrah there at Tiger's tournament. He's good, mate. He's got a great chance. He's been trending in the right direction. I want him to have a big 2025. And I think that you get value at the 900 because of Scheffler being so short. Thomas has also well said it. Some guys just want to actually beat him and say, yeah, we know you're dominant. We know you've been the best. But how about this is a chance for me to actually kick your butt and move into 25 with a little bit of confidence?
You call diapers nappies?
Yes, that's the Aussie or British way. Yeah, that's an Aussie or British thing. It's you guys who changed it. You changed it. Nappies is what we've called it
my new term
in
at
a day.
Sarah, I gotta
Diaper is an American saying. But yeah, that's the thing. That he's going to have obviously change in his life. That happens as a father. Look, Scheffler bucked that trend, or did he? His kid is still very young. That's a big factor for Scheffler. We'll talk about that later this year. But if he's really going to prove himself, next year is the year for me. And which I'm not saying he can't do it, but that's where it's more difficult. When the child is starting to get a little older, when you've got to factor them in more into your practice routines and whatever else. So Thomas has got a small window now before all that becomes weighing heavy on his mind.
I just look forward to the roundtables in 2038 when Ben is telling us how Scottie Scheffler has the burden of a high schooler at home and has to struggle with ninth grade geometry homework. And is he going to be able to handle that as he wins his 742nd major? Listen, I'm taking Ben's. Ben laid out my entire case for me and then picked someone else. So everything that he said about the non-strokes gained factors for this week applies to Sahith Theegala, and is a big reason why I'm backing him. He doesn't have the kids there. He's not worried about water park reservations. He's not, it's his first time at the Hero World Challenge. He's motivated. He wants to, impress Tiger. He wants to be, he's one of these guys that's on the fringe of this cool kids club where he wants to show that he belongs. He's going to have a ton of motivation. He has plenty of game to play. Albany, it's a wide open course. There's no rough. There's sand everywhere instead of rough. So he's going to be able to bomb that driver wherever he needs to. He's shown some flashes of form, inconsistent, but still flashes have been there throughout the fall. He played more golf in the fall than a lot of these guys in this field. Plus 1,800, I think there's a lot to like about Sahith Theegala. This is a meaningful start for him. It would be a meaningful victory for him. I do think, going back to Ben's point about Justin Thomas, JT has not won since the 2022 PGA, and I guarantee you he is tired of people saying that and having it be a factor. And so he wants to win something, and that's a big point in his checkbox. But I think at the same time, Theegala has a lot to play for here this week. It would be a really impactful win for him, and I think that's a big reason why I'm giving him a little bit of an edge over the other 19 guys, including Scottie Scheffler.
I wish I could hate it, but I've slated him as my top 5, so I can't hate it too much. And for all those reasons that you've said, and we'll get to my place guy in a little bit, but same sort of feeling. So look, I want to smash you for this, but I think Theegala is definitely on the radar this week for all of those reasons.
Let me add somebody else who I think's the exact same way. It's Russell Henley to me. I think this is a player, and you're saying that I think he has played better this year, Ben, than what we're giving him credit for, especially his last 2 or 3 months. I mean, this guy was in contention at the U.S. Open and the Open Championship, 2 top 10s there. He finished the year very strong, and he's somebody that no one is talking about because he's not these flashy names around him. I think his odds are probably a little bit lower than they should be, a little bit better than they should be, just based on everybody else around him. I think Henley's got a lot to prove this week. You don't agree, Ben?
No, I'm just saying, someone agrees with you that he's on the right path, because I saw an odds for him to win a major next year is 12-1. So, I mean, I'm not necessarily a believer of Russell Henley being that good. But again, you're right. You've got a situation here where 19 other guys, he's been sneaky good this season. I'm not sure he's going to compete with the big bombers at Albany who can just lay it out. We also haven't mentioned the factor, which is important, that the wind is what is the defense there. And it's going to be 20, 25 mile an hour gusts all 4 days. So is Henley a wind player? Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I think there are some guys lower down the board that you could take a punt on at better odds that you might be able to sort of factor in the weather as well.
I think it'd be interesting to see how he does in the wind. He might be asking for it to blow, though, because when I think of a guy who's going to win a tournament when he goes deep into the 20 unders, as this tournament has done from time to time at Albany, Russell Henley is more of a guy that wants to play those major championship venues where the winning score might be single digits under par, around 10 under, as opposed to trying to get to 22 or 23 under.
Fair enough. We'll see. We're not doing top 10 this week, by the way. We're doing top 5 because of the field. Will, I feel like you were knocking Nick Dunlap about 4 weeks ago.
Accurate. Guilty as charged. Everyone comes back at some point. I don't know. There's 20 guys, and I like the price. I think that when you look at what Nick Dunlap has done, it's been a lot of feast or famine. You got to give him credit. He wins as an amateur, kind of spends a few months trying to get his footing, and then he wins the Barracuda. So 2 wins this year. He's probably on the cusp of winning Rookie of the Year with PGA Tour voting in these next couple of weeks. But in terms of a peer vote from his players, but again, 20 guys, you only have to be in the top quartile for this tournament to catch a top 5. And even if you think about, places that pay odds or pay ties in full, maybe you can get a 3-way T4 that you're getting plus 350 where you're only beating 13 or 14 guys. What we saw from him, especially, I will say, I was really impressed with his performance at Memphis and getting into that field as he did, into BMW, and really holding steady down the stretch. On Sunday, that was impressive. It shows that he feels like he's ready to level up. I don't know that I'm in a place where I want to bet on him week in and week out, especially from an outright perspective and trying to beat a lot of these guys. But if it's a top 5 market where he could potentially put up a 64 or 65 on Sunday when a lot of other guys, maybe they've got their luggage sitting behind the 18th green, they're ready to head out of town. Again, similar to my thoughts on Thigala, he's someone that's young in life, doesn't have the kids, doesn't have a lot of the off-course variables that some other guys are going to have in play front and center this week, and so I think that's another point for him.
That was a very good defense.
I'm glad you mentioned. Yeah, well, I'm glad he mentioned though Memphis. I'm glad he mentioned Memphis in the final round there, because it went missing because of how Hideki went up and down, and that tournament went crazy on that final day. But Nick Dunlap was fighting for the next week. He actually started going backwards, much like Hideki did that day, but was able to rebound, and that is more impressive than anything. If you can turn around a bad stretch of a final round when everything's on the line, that to me takes you up a notch. And so he went up big time in my expectations at that point. I was I guess not underwhelmed, but I was like, yeah, he won Amex as an amateur. That's cool. It's a cool stat. He did well there in the shootout. But when he was able to get another win and then do that with that big field, that's what took him up a notch for me. So I think Will's right. This is a number play. Like with 20 guys, one of the young guys, he's going to play till the end. He's not there for the holiday. He's going to play golf.
You guys are mentioning these shootouts. I love your guy for a shootout, Ben. I love it.
Yes. Well, that's it. This is a potential play for the outright at good odds, right? At 25-1, if you like him, because he's proven that he can play in the wind as well, right? He won in Texas when it was a little windy. He also won in the Bahamas on the Corn Ferry Tour when it was blowing lights out. This is someone who is going to go for it. He's going to try to win this thing. He's not going to sit back and make up the numbers. So I love, actually, for the same reasons that Will likes Sahith, I think those two could really be some sort of firepower. I'd love to see them get together at some point in the mix and be in the same group with just firing at pins and trying to climb up that leaderboard and take this tournament by the scruff of the neck. Again, all the same reasons that Sahith can do it, I think Akshay can do it. And top 5, 225. Again, he's proven that he can be there in the mix. He probably should have won twice this year. We know what happened on the 72nd hole in Detroit, wasn't it? That he sort of let that one slip. But hey, he doesn't need to win this one. He just needs top 5, 225. Let's go.
Very different from mine because my top 5 probably is there getting Christmas ornaments with his wife. If the kid's there, I don't know. But guys, Sam Burns is playing really good golf. I mean, he wants to win every year. Hasn't done that yet in 2024. So we can look at this year as a failure, maybe because he hasn't, but I don't think it is. I think he's finished T12, T2, and I think another T5, along with another T12 at the Tour Championship, Will, to finish this season. Sam Burns is playing well. I need him to beat, what was your quarter word?
Quartile.
Quartile, beat a quartile of the field at plus 150.
Yeah, listen, the math is in your favor for sure. He did a lot of, taking a 70-man field at a signature event and finishing T12 this year. And so if you ratchet that up and then you're looking at finishing top 5 out of a 20-man, I think that there is, reason to think that he's going to be right in the mix, because you're right. I view it as like a high floor player, right? A bad round from Sam Burns is not going to be a 78. It's going to be a 70 or a 71, and then eventually he's going to get it going and head in the right direction.
I'm going to get you guys to answer the question for me, which is a question I should be able to answer because it's about me. But why don't I love Sam Burns as much as others? Why is he not someone that I'm more gung-ho on more often? I mean, clearly he's a talented player. But for whatever reason, I'm always standoffish on.
Do you not know the answer, or are you like asking us to?
No, I'm asking you guys to sort of get there. Yeah, like I know he can putt lights out, and I know he can do that, but for whatever reason, he's that guy that I can't pull the trigger on when it comes to putting hard earn down or telling others to put the hard earn down. I feel like he's going to one day be, for want of a better term, the Wyndham Clark or the Brian Harman that wins something big, and I go, I probably should have known he'd do that, but yet it'll still be a surprise. I don't know. You guys tell me, what am I not getting from Burns that I need to get?
He seems volatilely streaky. He's volatile and he's streaky. If he's not playing well, forget about him. And if he is, he could go win the U.S. Open. That's the way I see Sam Burns.
Yeah.
Well, he almost won the British, right? I mean, he almost won the Open heading into Sunday, and even that was kind of out of nowhere. I think, going back to your thoughts, Ben, a lot of us like to talk in the industry of like Bermuda Burns, right? He's known for putting and playing really well on Bermuda grass greens, but there's not this calling card. He's very solid at a lot of things, but you don't think of him as like, hey, I know Sam Burns is excellent at this or that. It's a lot of, he's the 20th best player in a lot of different categories, and eventually that adds up to a bunch of wins and some really good results, but it's not something where it's going to jump off the page when you're looking to handicap something on Tuesday or Wednesday.
I've got a new prediction. Scottie Scheffler is going to win, and then Sam Burns will win the without Scottie Scheffler market.
Boom. That's
Okay, there you go.